Well, Magic Venturers, I think healing in D&D sucks. Let me explain. I'm talking primarily about using healing spells on unconscious allies during combat because it is actually more optimal to use them on an unconscious ally rather than an ally that's still standing. Let me give you an example. Let's say the rogue has 3 hit points. You run over there and use a cure wounds at 2nd level, and we're talking about 5.5 rules, which is 4d8. You roll it and you only heal 10 hit points, getting them up to 13, and then they take damage, which is more than 13, immediately dropping them. It is more optimal to heal them after dropping so that they can stand back up and get back in the fight. I don't like this for several reasons. I have ideas on what we can do about it. Let's get into this. Yes, it is I, Nathaniel Gomezian, shopkeeper and proprietor of Gaming Treasure Chest. I said in today's video we're talking about healing, particularly spells, and what happens when somebody falls unconscious. My main reason for not liking this is because, as I said, it kind of goes against the roleplay aspect of things. You wouldn't wait for an ally to go down in combat before deciding to heal them. If you saw they were looking damaged, you would try to heal them before them going down, because you would think it's a negative thing for them to fall unconscious, because it wouldn't be like this. Okay, he looks like he's going to get ready to attack again. Heal me up so I've got the energy to be able to swing at him again.
You see why that might sound like a good idea, and I do get it from your point of view why that sounds like a good idea. It's actually more better for me to wait until you take the damage and fall unconscious and then heal you up. It's just better all round.
What do you mean? Because let's face it, this situation doesn't seem right. But what can we do about this? Well, I've got a few suggestions. Number one, going through potential penalties to fallen unconscious, and then going into potential buffs for healing spells. And I will say that 5.5 has actually buffed healing spells. If you go back and look at the old 5th edition, you'll see that they've actually buffed it in 5.5 that healing basically does double. But of course, it is a dice rolling game, and therefore it is still worse to do that because you could just roll all ones no matter how much healing you're trying to put into somebody. So the risk is there. So most people choose not to go with the risk, wait for them to go down, and then go for the heals. So, penalties to going unconscious. But why make penalties? Well, I believe that the reason why there should be a penalty for falling unconscious is because how many times does somebody come back from unconsciousness and is immediately ready back and in the fight again kind of thing? Most of the time, it is a massive surprise that they have come back from unconsciousness, let's face it. One that gets thrown around the place a little bit and was actually said by D&D Shorts is the idea that when you go down, you take a point of exhaustion coming back up. Therefore meaning that basically you're incentivizing trying to heal beforehand because you don't want to be taking those points of exhaustion. Now I will say this is a particularly harsh punishment in my opinion, because obviously it's going to be affecting martial characters more than it's going to be affecting the spellcasters, because they're up in the fray, in the midst of battle, and so are probably going to be going down more often, and if they're taking points and points of exhaustion, they could potentially just die from that. I think it's already the Berserker Barbarian who takes a point of exhaustion anyway to go into their rage, so things like that could definitely mount up for them significantly quickly, bearing in mind that you just straight up die the second that you hit 6 levels of exhaustion. So if you do choose to go down this route, I want to tweak it a little bit. When they get back up from unconsciousness, they have to make a Constitution saving throw. All it is DC 10, basically is an additional death saving throw, but this time you've actually got the con modifier that you can use to your advantage as well, which all they have to do, as I said, roll above a 10. If they roll under a 10, they take a point of exhaustion. If they roll over a 10, it is just boom, back in the action. So there is that kind of slight chance of it, and it is obviously meaning that you're not 100% definitely going to be gaining those points of exhaustion. If you want to go a little bit more wanting to support the martial characters, then you can give them advantage on this saving throw, because you could say that they are in the midst of battle many times and in training and such, so potentially they've been knocked unconscious before, and so getting back up again and getting back into the fight could be part of their like a all-around training and what they're used to. So you could say they get advantage on that. There's still the chance they might take a point of exhaustion, but it's not guaranteed. So you're kind of trying to let the martial class have that little bit more, because obviously I said it's most likely them who are going to be going down. Spellcasters can still go down, but let's face it, they're cowering in the back of combat. Another penalty to consider is taking a leaf out of Baldur's Gate 3. Anyone who's played the game will know that when you fall unconscious, when you come back, you actually lose your action. You still have movement and you've got a bonus action, most likely to be able to allow you to drink a potion. In the updated 5.5e, you can use healing potions as a bonus action, so it's potentially to allow you to get a little bit of movement, although obviously if you're in threat range that could be a problem, but be able to chug a healing potion and then obviously allow somebody to be able to heal you afterwards. That yet again, if you consider that to be too harsh of a punishment, you can use the same thing that I did in the first one, whereby there is a con save, and as I said, if you get above a 10 then you're fine, and if you get below a 10 then you lose it and only get that bonus action. And yet again, as I said before, if you want to give martial characters the ability to like do that with advantage, allow that as well. So that's the kind of thing, because it makes it a little bit more difficult to decide, okay fine, I'll just take the damage, fall unconscious, and then you boy, heal me, and we're back all good. It makes that a little bit harder, because you don't know when you come back from unconsciousness whether or not you're only going to have a bonus action, or if you're going to gain a point of exhaustion, depending on which way you want to do it. But as I said, I would love to hear what you guys think about what penalties could be, and what you think about the idea of penalties for falling unconscious are down in the comment section down below. So now that we've identified potential penalties, let's think about potential buffs that we can do to healing. Now, obviously, 5.5 has already increased healing. I will say, like from the original 5 edition, as I said, it has doubled the dice that get thrown in there. But as I said, yet again, just because you double the dice doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to make people more enticed to do it, because, as I said, you could roll terribly, and so therefore the optimal thing is still to win. So let's make some changes to the fundamentals of healing magic. Now, I did a lot of research for this video, and I did find a creator that was called Rules and Rulings. I will link their video down below, whereby they go into a similar topic of this in terms of buffing healing spells. And one of the suggestions that they discuss is the idea that if the target of the healing spell is at half health or above half health, then they get the maximum of that healing spell. And the logic behind this is the idea that it's easier to heal a cut or a bruise than it is to heal a break or a tear. They have not taken as much damage, and therefore it is easier to heal the minor wounds that are upon them, rather than if they go below half HP and it could be more serious wounds, breakages and that would take more healing in order to do. The idea that you're healing up the quick abrasions and whatnot that have happened before they dip below half health, the logic of that does make sense, and therefore it is a nice buff, because knowing that you're going to get the maximum out of your healing spell, that makes it a strategic choice to make sure that you're checking everyone's HP and knowing that, okay, right, I need to heal them before they dip below half, because that makes that the optimum choice, and as I said, that becomes strategic. So I don't see why that would be a bad thing to have. But do you think that might be too OP? It is forcing your healers to have to decide to prioritize healing near the beginning of the fight, so that they might not be using so many of their damaging spells kind of thing, so there might be the negative there. But obviously, as I said, they can use things like Healing Word and whatnot like that, which is only a bonus action, so they can still potentially get some hits in, or a cantrip or whatnot in, and then still be able to do the healing spell as a bonus action. Another interesting thing when it comes to the fundamentals of healing magic is potentially, why not have it that when you cast above the spell's level, you get the maximum of the spell level under it. So if you were casting Cure Wounds on somebody at level 3, that would normally be 6d8. But you can choose to go with the roll and get those 6d8, or use the maximum of the level 2 spell to get that guaranteed heal of 32. The choice is yours. It is that thing of basically, you could potentially roll more with the extra 2d8, but you could also roll less. So why not allow them to potentially strategically take the maximum they could of the previous leveled spell while casting it at a higher level, because that way you're still forcing them to use the higher spell slot while getting the less health than what they potentially could do. It is meaning that you're still given the choice of the gamble, or you're given the choice of the guaranteed lower level, because as I said, you're casting it at a higher level so you can focus that energy, that magical energy, instead of going for that gamble and trying to go for more. Focus it in on what the previous one was, to be able to get its maximum. Yet again, I don't see a problem with that personally, as I said, because you're just focusing the magic and making it so that you're getting it to that lesser level rather than taking the gamble of trying to get them healed up more. I think that could be a very interesting alternative. But what do you think? And what do you think about this idea in general? Do you think that healing needs a buff, or that there needs to be repercussions to falling unconscious? I just feel that from a roleplay aspect, that is something that I feel would be nice to have in the game. But as I said, I might be alone on this hill. Bearing in mind, I would like to say that although being a DM, I am also a player, and I do actually play a cleric, and even I don't like the idea of having to heal somebody once they've already gone down. My character is more of a good guy and doesn't like the idea of his friends going down in combat and then having to heal them. So I said, that's why maybe it's more of a personal thing for me. But as I said, what do you think down in the comment section down below? I would love to hear people's thoughts, and if you've got any ideas for, as I said, repercussions or potentially bonuses to healing spells, I'd love to hear them, as well as if you enjoyed this video, then why not consider subscribing to the channel, because I make D&D videos every week, and if you enjoyed this, you might like some of the other things that I make. Also, there is the Discord channel down below if you want to join that. I'm hoping to get a bunch of DMs together, or talk the D&D talk and whatnot, and have good times in there. If you want to join that, please feel free to. There is also the Patreon link down below if you want to support the channel financially. You don't actually have to support the channel financially. You can join as a free member, and there is resources and puzzles and STLs for 3D files if you've got a 3D printer that you can just get on there for free without paying a penny. There are some STLs which are hidden behind the pay thing, but I said don't feel forced to do that if you don't want to. It's only if you want to support the channel. There is also the Etsy store of gaming treasure chests, whereby all the things on there are things that I have designed myself and will 3D print and send to you. So if you do want to support the channel financially, why not consider looking in there? If there's a gift that you want to get for your DM or for your players, why not look in there, because everything is Dungeons and Dragons themed. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed your time, and until next time, goodbye.